Hello again. It's wonderful to see all of you here. I am Ia Afo, the Director of Training and Development for the Arizona ACES Consortium, and welcome to our fifth installment of the Supporting Wellness series. So I hope you've been enjoying these series. My focus is really about how do I support all of us in being able to heal some of our own toxic stress and trauma, reset our genetic expressions, and be more mindful when we're in our classrooms with our families in our personal life. So the focus really is on you. How can we facilitate and support your wellness? So, I talked a lot before about proactive things that can be done to help us with neurological regulation and mindfulness and so forth and so on. And I focused a lot on that because I feel like we don't typically get a lot of focus on the things that we can do proactively. And most people are focusing, or most things are focusing on what to do in the moment. So I spent some time on that, but it's also important, right? Like, what do you do in the moment? What do you do in that moment where you're having an interaction that is escalating, or an interaction that can become out of control? And the best part is that we're typically trying to control the behavior of someone else, right? We think regulating someone else or trying to control what someone else is doing is going to help to de-escalate a situation. But of course, through our work in trauma, we know that we want to create safety. If we have somebody that we're interacting with that is in the fight or flight response, we need to create safety. One of the first ways that we create safety is in how we are showing up, how we're managing our own regulation. Because if we are dysregulated, then it will not be possible for us to create safety and help a kiddo that's in distress to regulate themselves. So, in the moment, the fastest way to regulate ourselves is to do this particular breathing. So, this breathing is we take one fast inhale through the nose, take another short, fast inhale that's taking us kind of like, I think about it as like the top of the nose, which that kind of sounds crazy probably, but the top of the nose, and then a long exhale. And what happens with this technique is that it balances the oxygen and carbon dioxide in the lungs, in the blood, which then triggers a calming reflex in the sympathetic nervous system. Okay, so it's one fast inhale through the nose, another short, faster inhale through the nose, and a long exhale. We want to make sure that we're not going too fast, because then we create a different type of breathing. But breathing that goes like this. I'll do it for us. Right? So inhale through the nose, another one, another shorter one that takes us to the top of the nose, and then a long exhale. And that's going to help us to trigger a calming reflex in the sympathetic nervous system. And that is the fastest way to get ourselves regulated. So doing that 3 times is going to get us regulated fairly quickly. Next, we have box breathing, which we are probably quite familiar with, right? Inhale through the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the exhale for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's the box breathing. So hold, hold. And that also helps us to regulate. Visualizing our emotions. So sometimes we can visualize, and this one is probably good, not necessarily if you're exactly in that moment, but if you're leading up to a moment that could be stressful or something is building to a moment that could be stressful, we can visualize the emotions, right? Like maybe we visualize this big mountain of emotions that are inside of us, right? Or any type of imagery that is going to depict this massive thing, right? And if we use a mountain, let's say, and we have this enormous mountain and we're visualizing it inside of ourselves, and then we remove it from ourselves and put it outside of ourselves, and then visualize it on the outside of us. And then we can even smash it down into nothing. So, taking some time to visualize whatever um, we can, whatever imagery we can use as something that feels overwhelming, angry, frustrated, afraid, hurt, whatever that feeling is that we have, whatever that emotion is, visualize it inside of our body. And then the important part is to then visualize taking it outside of the body and putting it on the outside of ourselves, and then maybe even smashing it or destroying it. So uh, the first breathing technique, right, was the 2 inhales in, the 2 shorter inhales in, and a long one out. That's the fastest way to get regulated. We can do box breathing, right? The 4 count breathing. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. We can visualize emotions like we just talked about. We can do detailed mind wandering, right? So sometimes our mind is wandering and we don't realize that our mind is necessarily wandering, right? Or we're kind of out of control. But we can also do intentional, detailed mind wandering, okay? So we want to let the mind wander somewhere where we feel safe. So we can say, okay, let me think about, where is my safe place? Where is my happy place? Where is the place that I don't feel angry, frustrated, afraid, overwhelmed? And we let our mind wander there. We take ourselves there. What does that feel like, being in that safe space? What does it smell like? What does the ground feel like, maybe underneath our feet? Or what does the air feel like floating under our wings if that safe space is up in the air, right? Get really grounded in that place where we feel joy and safety. And that's the idea behind detailed, intentional mind wandering. We intentionally allow our mind to wander to some place where we feel safe, happy, secure. And we ground ourselves in that space by trying to use as many senses as we can in that particular space where we feel safe and secure and happy and joyful. Lastly, another one that we can do while we're in the moment, bring in positive thoughts. I'm okay. Everything is totally fine. I feel safe. I'm okay. Everything is totally fine. I feel safe. I can control this. I feel good in this moment. I feel happy. I feel joy. I'm okay. Everything is perfect and exactly as it should be. Those types of thoughts, right? Almost repeating some of that to yourself, whether you're able to say it out loud or whether you are just saying it in your mind, but bringing in those positive thoughts. Now, I don't want you to look weird or off, but when you can do it and have a smile on your face, it's even better because that helps to regulate you even more. But I recognize, right, if you're in a tense situation, you may not be able to stand there smiling, having all of these positive thoughts in your mind. because that may be triggering for the person or activating for the person that you are interacting with in that moment. But even imagining that smile on your face, those feelings, those good feelings inside, and continuing to repeat positive thoughts can really help you to regulate in the moment. So I'm going to give you the list one more time before we close. The 2 breaths in through the nose, one long breath out of the nose is the most effective way to get regulated in the moment, because this technique balances the oxygen and carbon dioxide in the lungs and the blood, which triggers that calming reflex in the sympathetic nervous system. We can do box breathing. We can visualize our emotions and then visualize them on the outside of our bodies. We can do intentional, detailed mind wandering, and we can bring in very positive thoughts and even a smile on our face if we can. And if we can't smile on our face, an inner smile to help regulate ourselves in the moment. I hope this was helpful for you. We all need to have those tools ready, right? Sometimes I study this list and look over it again and have those ideas ready in my mind, especially when I know I could be encountering difficult situations. Because in the moment, right, when we move into that survival response, we don't have access to the part of the brain that we need to think some of these things up. So if we have them at the ready, if we've rehearsed this and we have it at the ready, it is much easier for us to access them in that moment when we're moving into that survival brain, and our higher functioning parts of the brain are starting to shut down. So really remembering these and thinking about them on a regular basis, or thinking about which ones connect most to you, that you would be most readily to use in that moment, is probably a great idea to help you, especially if you struggle with regulating in the moment. So thank you again for tuning in. Thanks for being a part of our community. I hope this has been helpful to you, and I look forward to seeing you in our next session. Take good care. Have a great and wonderful day. Create a fantastic week. Bye-bye.